Welcome to CBS Sports HQ on your Thursday. That means Week 7 is officially upon us in the NFL. Steelers and Bengals today. Chris, there's been a lot of drama this season, I feel like. And Mike Tomlin is not one to really weigh into things.
Yeah.
He's changing his tune.
Because the Cleveland Browns traded Joe Flacco inside the division to the Cincinnati Bengals. And Mike Tomlin knows he's got to play the Bengals twice in the next month, and they're probably better with Joe Flacco at quarterback than Jake Browning.
So you think that's why he's weighing in on
He's definitely doing something and maybe playing some sort of mind games. Let's hear first from Mike Tomlin earlier in the week on that Browns trade, and then Joe Flacco's reaction to Tomlin.
You know, to be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us. Because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
What do you make of the fact that he was maybe a little bit more upset than he's previously shown in pressers over the course of his career?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't get to see how upset he was. But you know, I think he's probably just playing the game a little bit and doing whatever he has to do.
All right, so let's bring in Douzable and Pete Prisco. Pete, what games do you think Mike Tomlin is trying to play with those comments?
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to get under the skin of the organization. He's trying to get under the skin of Joe Flacco. But come on, give me a break. What does it matter? Seriously, does it really matter to the Pittsburgh Steelers that they traded Joe Flacco inside the division? I mean, the Bengals have so many issues on this team. Jake Browning wasn't any good. Is Joe Flacco better? Yes, but how much better? Who knows? So I think Mike Tomlin is playing Mike Tomlin head games, and kudos to him for doing it. Does it really bother him? I doubt it.
Yeah, Pete, I thought this was hilarious, and it's always great for a head coach to take a dig at a divisional GM, right? Interdivisional trades are rare. You talked about that. It rarely happens. And to me, this is, I don't want to say an indictment on Joe Flacco, but if the Browns were comfortable enough to trade him within the division, they weren't worried about him hurting them in the long term. But to Pete's point, I mean, does this really change the outcome of what's happening to the Bengals? Because, yes, Joe Flacco didn't have those back-breaking interceptions, and which he doesn't do. He's a savvy quarterback. Even when the pocket collapses, which it did a lot against the Green Bay Packers, he was savvy enough to dirt the ball right next to the receiver and get incomplete passes. He's comfortable, Pete, throwing 3 incomplete passes and punting the football where Jake Browning was turning it over. But it wasn't like they were world beaters on offense. Pete, the score was 24-10, and the Bengals scored their last score with 4 minutes left on the clock, right? They only put up 18 points. And how their defense has kind of been Jekyll and Hyde, 18 points isn't going to win you many games. So I thought this was hilarious at Mike Tomlin taking a dig at Andrew Berry. But also he knows the offense is going to be significantly better with Joe Flacco than Jake Browning. It's going to be a little bit better. He's just not going to have those back-breaking turnovers. So I thought it was funny that he took a dig at the Browns and the Bengals for this.
Yeah, Pete, it did seem like the offense was better with Flacco. But as Lige said, how big of a difference is this actually going to make tonight and moving forward this season for Cincinnati?
Well, I think it can make a big difference getting the ball down the field. I mean, look, we know Joe Flacco's always been one of the best deep ball throwers in the league, and he takes his shots, so he will be willing to throw down the sideline. And I think if you're Jamar Chase and Higgins and gang, you're happy about that. I mean, Browning wasn't any good. I mean, let's be real. He's just not a good quarterback. He turned the ball over a ton in the 3 games he played. And that was a big problem. And Flacco, he gets hot. There's times when you look at Joe Flacco and you go, look at him, he can cook. So I do think there'll be some opportunities tonight to hit the big play down the field. But that's the biggest difference to me is he's going to take the deep ball and take some shots down the field. And Jamar Chase and Higgins have to be thrilled with that.
Well, Pete, we didn't see a lot of that in the Green Bay game. And to my point earlier, Joe Flacco gets the ball out of it. Well, no, I get that, but I'm saying with the offensive line to throw the ball down the field, that takes time, which means you need protection. There was multiple times in that game where Joe Flacco got to his 3rd or 4th step in his drop, and he had to dirt the ball near receivers. You can't throw a deep dig route. You can't throw a corner route or a fade if your offensive line is in your face as soon as you take the snap. So to me, that's why I was saying when they made this trade, it didn't make sense because whether it's Joe Flacco, whether it's Joe Burrow, right? Whether it's Jake Browning, with that offensive line and how bad they played, it doesn't matter. Now, again, he won't have the back-breaking plays like Jake Browning had with the turnovers, but we just saw it in this Green Bay game. Like, he had to get the ball out of his hand extremely fast. And now with Nick Herbig, right, and Water on the other side, he's going to have to do the same thing tonight, or he's going to get sacked. So, to me, it didn't matter because of the offensive line. Yes, he'll be more efficient with the football. I don't think they're going to have opportunities to take shots down the field because of the offensive line.
Some have called this the Icy Hot Bowl. I prefer the Ben Gay Bowl. Ben Gay Bowl has a little bit better ring to it. It's just the fourth matchup between 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks as Flacco faces Aaron Rodgers. And Lige, Aaron Rodgers 116 yards away from moving into the top 5 in NFL history. And some synergy here because he would pass Big Ben. And Lige, he has the Steelers off to their best start since that Roethlisberger era in 2020.
I mean, who would have ever wrote this script to think that Aaron Rodgers, while passing Ben Roethlisberger on the all-career pass leaders list, would be in a Steelers uniform, right? I never fathomed that. Aaron Rodgers is the most gifted quarterback I've ever played against. When you talk about the arm strength and being able to put the ball anywhere you want to on the field. Now, I did pay Patrick Mahomes his rookie year, but only in a preseason game. So it wasn't the Mahomes that we truly know now. But you talked about it, Has. Like, you can't write a better script than this, right? He's about to pass Big Ben on the all-time pass list in a Steelers uniform, and maybe does it tonight in a Thursday night game when the whole world is watching. So really love how Aaron Rodgers has taken on this offense with Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. They go big personnel, one back, 2 tight ends. And Aaron Rodgers is just efficient. He gets the ball out of his hands extremely fast. That's what he's always done at a high level, and that's what the Steelers were missing last year. Attacking the middle of that field. Russell Wilson refused to do it. Aaron Rodgers does it.
Aaron Rodgers has been a great signing by the Steelers. Look, there's been a lot of people that remember last year they questioned it, and all you had to do is go back and look and see how well he played at the end of last year for the Jets. And the Jets were not a very good team, but he played well. And I think that carried over. He was healthy again. He wasn't healthy last year. And so I think once he got healthy, he's back now, and he just looks comfortable with this group. I mean, 10 touchdown passes and 3 picks. He's doing a really nice job of spreading the ball around and taking his shots when they get the opportunities to do so. And one other thing about the Steelers offense, the offensive line is growing up. There's a lot of kids on that offensive line, draft picks, and they're all starting to play better and better as the season moves along. And I think that's something to keep an eye on, particularly tonight. But moving forward, if that line can continue to run block and can continue to get him protection, they're going to score points. And I know they don't have a ton of talent on the outside other than Metcalf, but they will score points with Aaron Rodgers throwing the football.
Steelers do have some demons to exercise a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving. They are just 3-15 in Thursday road games. Mike Tomlin, 2-9 himself. Lige, how do you make sense of that, given the fact that Tomlin's reputation is built on having a high floor and being steady kind of just about everywhere?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of these Thursday night games are interdivisional games. And Pete could tell you this, that those games always come down to the wire. That is the opponent that knows you the best. So they got to be able to exercise them demons, especially if they plan on not just getting to the playoffs, but going further than the wild card weekend round, which they have not done, if I'm not mistaken, in about 8 years. So they've really struggled traveling on the road on Thursday night football games. And I think this will be a tough one too, right? When you look at the history, or just going back to last week on Thursday night football, the teams that are a little bit older, getting up there in age, right, takes you a lot longer to recover, especially as the season progresses. We saw the Eagles team last Thursday. Pete, they look old and decrepit out there versus a youthful team versus the New York Giants. I think that could play a factor in tonight's game. But for the Steelers, they have to start fast. I think in all those games you talked about, they got behind early in some of those Thursday night football games.
Yeah, it's funny. We look at this as Rodgers and Flacco as being the old guys. We go to the defensive side of the ball for the Steelers. Yeah. There's a lot of age on that side of the ball. And you're right, it is hard to bounce back. And guys like Cam Hayward and you know, even Jalen Ramsey and Slay, I mean, they got a lot of age on that defense. And so it might be a challenge. But this is just a weird number to me when you look at it. Mike Tomlin's been such a great coach. Why can't they win on Thursday night? What's the problem? And I'm sure they've done a deep dive on it. And look, there's no real answer to it. But they're going to win tonight, though, so don't worry about it. Here's another interesting stat, by the way. Here's an interesting stat, by the way. The Steelers have gotten really good in run defense the last 3 weeks, 84 yards per game. How about this? The Bengals don't have a run over 12 yards this season. Think about that. They do not have a run over 12 yards this season. That's incredible.
And the Bengals have been giving up a lot of yards on the ground. More on that from our fantasy guys a little bit later as we try to set our lineups for this upcoming week. Pete, you just said you think the Steelers are going to win. How about the spread here? It's anywhere from 4.5 to 5.5 in favor of Pittsburgh. How do you see it playing out?
Lay it. I just think this is a dominant performance by the two lines in Pittsburgh. I think, and Ligier touched on the offensive line. The defensive line isn't very good either right now, and Hendrickson's banged up. And so I think when you look at this game, it's going to be two lines dominating the other two lines, and I think Pittsburgh's going to hit some shots down the field. I like the Steelers. In fact, I like them to win by 10 to 12 points in this game.
We're on the opposite side. I talked about it earlier. I think youth plays a factor in this game and the ability to recover. Again, we saw the Philadelphia Eagles look old, and you talked about it, Pete. There's a lot of age on that defensive side of the football when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Joe Flacco was efficient with the football. They weren't able to throw the ball down the field. I think this is going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. I'm going to go with the youth. Now, I am concerned with Trey Hendrickson and that hip. Is he going to be able to go? We'll know as we get closer to game time. I'm going to ride the youth. I think the Bengals cover the 5.5. Interdivisional game. I believe this game is close.
Hendrickson questionable officially in day-to-day with that hip injury. That would be huge if they could get him on the field chasing around Aaron Rodgers. Pete Prisco and Ligier Douzable here looking ahead to the Thursday night kickoff this week. CBS Sports HQ is your place 24/7 for everything NFL all the time, and we will have a complete breakdown, reaction, and highlights when the game is done.
That sets the scene for what should and hopefully be an exciting game, and we bring in Logan Ryan, who's tapped in with us. And Logan, I'm 5 years away from 40. I prefer to go by big bro and not unk, so I'm going to say that I'm square in that big bro category. I think you are as well. We can call Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco unk, though. I'm stamping that. When you see a matchup of these two tonight, what does that make you feel, just knowing all that they've been through and are facing off now here?
Yeah, when I see these two guys playing, it makes me think about what am I doing here on CBS? I still should be getting this football money, man. I'm only 34. Maybe I have some juice in the tank. I don't know. But, I mean, these guys still do it at 40. I played against both these guys. And I'll tell you what, very different personalities, the two. But they both throw the ball beautifully. And it shows you that if you have that Ken Griffey swing, if you have that beautiful throwing technique, that beautiful throwing motion, you can play as long as you want to play because those guys can still rip the ball downfield. They still have big arms. They're still obviously really smart at the line of scrimmage. And both these teams want to win and need to win this game tonight. And these guys give them the best chances. Obviously, that's why Cincinnati traded for reliable Joe Flacco.
Yeah, on the other side, you look at the Steelers, a surprising 4-1 start for them, which is their best 5-game start since 2020. They're on a 3-game winning streak right now. When you look at that Pittsburgh team, what is clicking for them and getting them going?
They're playing really good complementary football, honestly. And this is post Ben Roethlisberger era. They really haven't had a quarterback come in there and play consistent, take care of the football. Pittsburgh always wants to be a dominant defense. They've been like that forever. And obviously they need the quarterback on the other side to kind of hold it down. So Aaron Rodgers knows what he's doing. No matter what you feel about him personally, he's a savant at the line of scrimmage. Playing against this guy, he's going to get you in the right run plays. He's going to check the screen at the right time. He's going to try to take care of the football. He doesn't turn it over at a high rate. He never really has. And when you play that type of efficient offense, when a defense is playing this lights out the last 3 games, that's going to lead the wins. I look at this like when Peyton Manning went to Denver. Now, mind you, the Steelers do not have that Denver defense. I'm not saying it's no fly zone over there. I'm not saying it's that level, but Peyton Manning understood what his job was when he was a Denver's quarterback, was to complement the defense. And I think that's what Aaron Rodgers is doing, is understanding his job is to win games defensively, take care of the football, be good in third down in the red area.
You mentioned Big Ben, and Aaron Rodgers needs just 116 passing yards to pass Big Ben for 5th most on the all-time list for passing yards in the NFL, so something to certainly watch for tonight. On the other side, something to watch with Cincinnati is what's the status of Trey Hendrickson. missed the second half of last Sunday's game with that hip injury and did not play and finish the game against the Packers. He's questionable to play tonight, and he's a name that we've seen tossed out there as a potential trade piece. So with those two parts of it in mind, how important is it that he gets out there for showing how good he can play right now and just for the Bengals to have tonight?
Yeah, he needs to be out there no matter what. I mean, I don't like to say this is must-win games this early in the season, but for what the Bengals need to do this season and want to do, and by paying Trey Hendrickson and these guys, he needs to be out there tonight, and they need to win this game. If they win this game, they'll be back in this division. They'll be okay. If they don't win this game, then a lot of potential pieces like Trey Hendrickson can be on the trade block. And the whole goal when Joe Burrow got hurt was to keep the team in position so that if Burrow chooses to return this year at the end of the season, he can take them over into the playoffs, potentially make a run. They're kind of falling out of position. That led to the quarterback change. And guys like Trey Hendrickson, who is one of the best edge rushers on the field, without a doubt, the best player in their defense, it's not even close. He needs to be out there tonight to win this game because I think their season's imbalanced based on this game.
So if he is so important, and of course there was the whole standoff in the offseason, are they going to pay him? Are they not going to pay him? They find just that little short deal that they decide on. Why would they trade him if his name is truly out there on the block?
I never liked this as a player. I hated this part of the year. If they view like your team's not going to make the playoffs and you potentially are not going to be back next year or in 2 years, you're going to see big name players on the trade block to essentially give up on this season, but salvage draft picks or future picks for the future. So it's almost like no matter how hard you work in the offseason, no matter what Trey Hendrickson has done for years, because they had a bad start to this season and potentially odds say they may not make the playoffs, let's therefore trade all our best players. I think as a player, this is stuff that I hated. I hated this time of the year, even if your team's not off to a fast start, because you start to hear these rumors circulate. Hey, man, you're on the trade block. The team shipping you around might be seeing what they can get for you because we're 2-4 at the moment or 2-5. Therefore, you're on the trade block. This is absolutely what the players despise, this part of the game.
Yeah, take me through like the emotions of that, the psyche of how it might affect either the locker room and the play. What was it like personally for you? Did you experience that? And if not, when you see your teammates, how do they handle that?
It's a lot to deal with. I mean, it's hard enough in this current generation to ignore the noise, turn off your social media. A lot of fans say you're horrible. A lot of this, that's week to week, and you get paid to deal with that. We understand that comes with the job. But I think when your organization comes from within, you give so much to an organization. Obviously, you re-sign a contract here, you go to training camp, you're a leader, you're a captain, you're doing things in the community, you're bringing smiles to children's faces. You see your jersey in the crowd number, you see your jersey number in the crowd, but yet because the team is 2-5, now I'm our biggest trade chip. And you understand it is a business. You understand you're just an asset. There was a time in Tennessee where we were 2-3 or 2-4, I believe, and we had a game that could have went to 2-5, and my name was on that trade block because I was in my contract year and I was a valuable asset. And if we go 2-5, maybe they potentially trade me. We end up going 3-4. We win that game. We go to 3-4. We end up making the playoffs that year, finish 9-7. We end up going to the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
So if we don't win that game, I might not even finish the year on the Titans. We end up winning that game. I end up playing in the Titans for the AFC Championship, one of the best seasons in Titans history. So that's how much these weeks can matter at this time of the year.